Hi. So I decided that I was going to do an update video because I haven't done one in a really, really long time. I've been focused on just doing random shorts on my main YouTube channel and obviously my fitness stuff on my fitness channel, neither of which is taking off even a little bit. My fitness channel is slightly better with 11 hours of watch time, according to YouTube Studio. It's really taken off from my perspective. Okay, so anyway, I don't know where to begin. I didn't make any plans. I didn't write anything down. I had no formula or organization whatsoever coming into this. I just kind of decided I needed to do it. So here we go. Where do I begin? I don't know. I don't actually know how long it's been since I did one. I just kind of got to a point where I realized that you guys are updated on things, but sometimes, you know, like months after they happen, I think. And the fact is that I just don't have control over that right now. So I kind of just have to produce stuff and hope that it lands and that it lands at a good time, an appropriate time, but I really don't know. So I just have to give you guys what I give you. So how are things? Okay, let's pretend I'm on a reality show where the crew can actually interview me, where the producers can actually interview me on camera. How am I doing? I am surviving, but I am not doing well. But I'm physically pretty healthy, probably largely due to Stanley and the psychiatrist that's treating me. And also the fact that I eat my vegetables and I try to have a balanced diet. I do drink, you know, and anyway, and I'm medicated. I'm on I don't know what it's called because the psychiatrist has to treat me like, you know, from behind the wall. So I don't know what it's called, but I imagine it's an antipsychotic of some kind, and it really helps me. It helps me regulate my emotions better. It helps me not have my obsessive thoughts that drive me crazy, that have to do with trauma and, you know, Jim Fenwick's abuse of my entire life. So it helps with that a lot. It does make me lethargic, unfortunately, but I feel like that's, you know, it's totally worth it because the way it was before I had the medication was intolerable. So this is better. So I'm not doing as bad as I would be, I guess was my point, if I wasn't taking that. I guess the summary of how I feel about everything right now is, well, I think that we're at the end. But I feel entirely overwhelmed. I've lived kind of just overwhelmed for a lot of years now, 10 years, 12 years, really over 12 years now, continuously. So I'm kind of used to it is my point. But it's really like I've really been getting pushed to my maximum lately. There's been a lot of disruptions to my life caused by Jim Fenwick, sometimes directly and sometimes indirectly. And I have had to be so heavily sedated as a result that my creativity is lower, my energy more than anything is lower. It's very like amotivating, you know, and usually like because I'm so anxious and ADHD and OCD, I don't have a hard time getting up and doing things, you know. So that's tough because I am experiencing that a little bit right now because I'm so sedated. But at the same time, you know, I do think that this level of sedation is necessary right now. I mean, I as soon as the dosage goes down, you know, like I'm being overstimulated externally, and it's very difficult for me to regulate. So, which I hate to admit that, but it's true. I think it's just because I've lived with a variety of traumas for a lot of years that have never been treated and never had an opportunity to even process. Only in the past like 8 months have I had a little bit of an ability to process some things, but you know, it's piecemeal and it's messy and it's ugly, and you know, I am always wary of the snowball effect. So I am always wanting to cut it off at the legs so that it can't snowball, which just means more suppression, you know, which is dissociative, which is how I live most of the time. You know, I recently have been kind of gently allowing myself to process things, but in the past maybe week or two have been very, very difficult. You know, and let me just take a side here to say, you know, it's like money is difficult, my daily life is difficult, physically, you know, I'm still being abused by Jim Fenwick all the time with the implant. And then on top of that, you know, I'm just tired from all the other cumulative effect of everything else. And hopelessness, you know, even though I feel we're at the end, I think it's hard for people to grasp being in this situation for as long as I have. It's a chunk of my life. It's like a sixth or whatever of my life. And, you know, at 50, you're acutely aware of your mortality. You're aware that your body's now on the descent, and the rage that fills me about that, how much time has been stolen from me without any compensation at all, nothing to ever even attempt to make me whole again. And I just lose more and more and more with every fucking second that this continues. It's hard to deal with that rage. And the rage kind of just turns into hopelessness, and, you know, it often turns inward, which is where, like, you know, the suicidal ideation comes from. Okay, so I'm not doing great, is the summary of what I'm trying to say. I guess I wanted to start there and then maybe talk just a little bit about anthropology and the merry-go-round, the cycle of abuse in our culture and our civilization, really, as a species. You know, I've been thinking, because I feel like we're getting towards the end, I've been thinking about like what interviewers might ask me, you know, when I'm free of this. And the question that I think probably will come up a lot is, you know, after everything that you've been through, like, what is one thing that you would want to impart to everyone? And I feel like I already have the answer, but it might change after I get my freedom, because maybe more insight will come at that point, you know. But for now, what I would say is the main takeaway is that as a species, we still have a really, really long way to go. But at the same time, I've said this before, you know, like, I look at the birds that come to my feeders, and like, you think about reptiles, and like, they're prehistoric. They've been around for a very, very long time, much longer than we have. We're a really young species. And so it makes sense that we have a long way to go. That doesn't mean that it's not frustrating, and I really don't want to cry right now. It doesn't mean it's not frustrating, and sometimes it seems so fucking obvious to me what the right thing to do is, and people just fucking do the opposite so fucking often. You know, it's like 80%. It's like 75, 80%. I'm not a statistician, but I'm just ballparking it for you guys. It's a lot of people that are highly corruptible. And of course it's a spectrum. You know, on the lower end of the spectrum, it's fairly harmless. On the extreme end of the spectrum, it's felonious. You know, it's dangerous, it's violent, it's inhuman, if you will. Of course, I always have a problem with the phrase inhuman, because it's like, but is it though? Because I think that's kind of like the thing that we do. This is, don't tell the kids. It's vodka and seltzer. So I'm just, full disclosure. So I've been consistently disappointed, I guess. I hate to say disappointed. You know, it's just like I'm so aware of how influential the things that I say can be, because I have so much exposure because of this debacle. I'm always trying to edit my words, but I think disappointed is the right word. I've been consistently disappointed by human beings just in general. I've been disappointed in myself, even, you know, not so much recently, but definitely in years past. The way that I responded to situations was bad, you know, and when I understood that I had some power, I exploited it to, you know, try to vanquish people I perceived as enemies. Verbally, I mean, obviously, I don't mean like Jim Fenwick does it. But, you know, I've displayed character traits that I'm not proud of, and things that I've been trying to overcome for decades. So, anyway, none of us is perfect, obviously. I'm the unlucky person that got put in this position, and I guess I probably sort of asked for it with my behavior and things that I talked about in such an exposed environment. You know, I think, I know that people don't want to hear me talk about this, but, you know, where my mind always goes when I'm thinking about these things is, you know, when I first got to Wyoming, I knew that it was like the cattle, you know, the beef state, and I saw the cows everywhere, black cows, Angus cows, and Pam, you know, gave me some information when I first got here, like, you know, she hates the season when the mothers are separated from their babies so that you guys can eat veal. She didn't say that part. I added that part. Because the mothers scream. The mothers scream a lot. There's a lot of screaming that's happened recently. I don't know if this is the season for that. It might be fake, because I think Matthew Fusk does stuff like that to upset me or see if I'll, you know, come unhinged or whatever. I guess it's a test. Anyway, when I first got here, I had just left Maya 2,000 miles behind. Yes, it's normal for parents to be separate from their children when, you know, their children are like 20-ish. But you have to understand, Maya did not have a normal childhood. We didn't have a normal family life. It was never like that. If you've never read the book Room or seen the movie Room, it's a Canadian film. I can't remember what year. You know, that is a fairly decent representation of kind of what Maya's childhood was like. Maybe without, you know, the room itself, but it was an invisible prison. Anyway, so, you know, she still needs to be parented. She's not cooked, and she needs more parenting. And they took me away from her. And thank God she has a good father. You know, thank God that Dave is such a good father, because I don't know where we'd be otherwise. So he's provided a lot of support for her, and definitely I have some FOMO about that. I'm not going to lie, but I'm so grateful that he's so stable, you know. So I had just left her 2,000 miles behind, and Pam tells me about the cows with the calves, and I lost my shit. I heard them screaming and I lost my shit early on. Jim Fenwick thought it was hilarious and he kept trying to exploit it in various ways. But Jim Fenwick wasn't the only person that mocked me about my upset over that. Anyway, so since then, and around that time, I started thinking about how I was a vegetarian for a really long time. I wasn't a good vegetarian. I still ate cheese that had byproducts in it, and I didn't always buy cruelty. I mean, I was just like, I did want to be a vegetarian for ethical reasons, but I was young and I wasn't healthy and I didn't take care of anyway. So I was a vegetarian, but it was sort of half-hearted. After Maya was born, your priorities just change when you have a baby, and I just was like, she has to be gluten-free, and then I found out that I was supposed to be gluten-free, and that's like such a big challenge, so I was just like, look, I just have to eat meat. So I went back to it. Anyway, and then, with my own experience with all of this, combined with an already, I'm very sensitive, I'm very empathic, I feel the pain of others. Probably a lot of that is egocentric, which is something that people often don't talk about with empaths. But nevertheless, I feel things deeply. I definitely sympathize with people and animals that are suffering. And, I just kind of had the visual, which was something, because I'm sorry, I have to go back again. When I was a vegetarian, when I was younger, I went to, what is it called? Farm Sanctuary in upstate New York. I can't remember the name of the town either. It was a rescue place for animals, mostly in the meat industry, that had been disposed of or abused in some way. And they would have, there was a pig, for example. I probably have talked about this before. There was a pig, because they give the pigs so many hormones so that they get big and fat, and they had a pig that had to walk on its elbows because it was so heavy, its legs had given out. And it was other stories like that. They had turkeys that were all defeathered because they were thrown away, when they were in a pile of carcasses when they weren't dead and they were rescued. And I can't even get into the cows. Cows are very sweet animals. They're and I don't mean taste-wise, you fucking assholes. I mean, I like beef too, but it's like, that's where I'm going. It's like, sometimes you have to make sacrifices. Cows are very kind, gentle creatures for the most part. They're sweet, they're affectionate, they like, to connect. And oh God, I don't want to start crying, you guys. I vowed to not cry during this one. Ideally, the animals that are slaughtered, especially at factory farms, are, not hung up to bleed out until they're actually dead. But that's not always the case, because, these companies want it to be as cheap as possible. And so the people that work, a lot of whom are probably underpaid, are, rushed at threat of losing their jobs. And the whole system is fucked. I mean, that's basically what I'm saying, is the whole system is fucked. And these animals sometimes are, not dead, and they're being skinned alive. Bled out when they're not dead. And I just always think these poor creatures, they come here to Wyoming to be grass finished. So a lot of the cows that I see roaming free around here are just still our steaks and burgers. But they're being grass finished for, the millennials and the Gen Xers that want to spend, a lot of money on their meat. so they can feel like they're being really healthy. So what I always think is these poor creatures, you know, when it's their time, they're toted away, they have no power, they're helpless, and nobody's fucking coming to rescue them. Nobody's coming to rescue them. They can't fucking pick up the phone and call 911. I mean, there's nobody coming to rescue them. And I know what that feels like. I know what that feels like, and it's kind of brought me to a place where I cannot feel okay about myself continuing to eat meat indefinitely. So I have started replacing the meat things that I usually buy with the affordable vegetarian options. Like tofu is something. Tofu's pretty affordable, and it's a complete protein. It has all the amino acids that I need. You do have to eat more of it to get as much protein as you would get out of chicken or beef or whatever. But, you know, I just don't want to eat. I'm still eating beef. Again, full disclosure, I'm still eating beef. I am. That's the hardest one to give up. It's also a hard one to replace. But I'm hoping that I'm getting my money soon, and then I can buy options that are appealing to me, and I can stay nourished. And actually be vegetarian/vegan. I would also, when I finally get my money, like to be able to get cheese that isn't made with byproducts, which probably is also extremely expensive. But the main thing is, I relate to what it's like to be enslaved against your will and hopeless and helpless and just have people doing things to you and making decisions for your life without your consent. And if there's one thing that I've really learned from Thuri's death is that when most of these animals, you know, I really, with the exceptions only of like, you know, some seafood creatures, like, you know, sea creatures and insects, they are all autonomous. Mammals are autonomous. They're not dependent on us in the universe, in the afterlife, you know, in the in-between. They're not dependent on us. They're not reliant on us. They don't need us. And we impose our will on them. And I think it's okay. Like when you have, you know, I mean, like, okay, we've domesticated dogs, you know, and cats. But it is our duty then to make sure that they're taken care of. And that's something with this is like, you know, Matthew Fusk or the producers at NBC or whoever, you know, got a guardianship over me or whatever, conservatorship, whatever the fuck it is, you know, and just took my will from me. They just made decisions for my life like it means nothing. Like my constitutional freedoms were just taken from me. And our constitutional freedoms represent just basic humanity, basic freedom, basic autonomy that every creature on this planet with a soul should have. And I don't see myself as better than a cow. I don't see myself as better than a dog. We're all the same. Just because we live longer doesn't mean that our lives have more value. I don't believe that. So anyway, I guess that's my conclusion with all of this. It's another probably dissociative way of coping for now. I have had moments recently where I've really felt like I watched the movie Room that I was just talking about recently again, because it kind of has a happy ending, and it's just commiserating, you know, even if she's a fictional character, with somebody who understands what this is like. So, and like with that, I've had moments where I wanted to just sob and weep, you know, just totally let it go, but I can't. I'm not free yet. I can't until I'm free. I just can't. I have to suppress it. I have to, even if it's fucked up my brain, which I think it has, and it's going to take time to come back. But that's just the reality. So I hope this is almost ending, and maybe this is the last one of these I'll do before it ends. And if that's true, then I will see you guys on the other side. Bye.